Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chills, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. Okay, my love, I have put everything that I offer for free on one page so that we are not doing more work than we have to, because why would we do that? Hashtag work smarter, not harder. So livemyhappyhealth.com/free. You are going to find everything I've created for not only leveling up in your personal life and building a life that you love, but leveling up in your business life and building a business that you love. Okay? livemyhappyhealth.com/free. Love you. Hello, Root of Power fam. We have got Sacha Walton with us, who is a business strategist and the owner of SWI Management Group. And I think she's not only going to be very fun, I really cannot do boring people, but brilliant. So yeah, I'm just calling it in. It's already here. We were just talking before we pressed record about how she had to make a really big shift during the pandemic. And I cannot wait for y'all to hear about that and for me to hear about it, because it'll be a surprise to both of us. So hello.
Hi, Amanda. It is such a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, we were also, I also like to lead in, well, really, I just love to talk about the beach. So we were also talking about the beach. So Sacha lives near Virginia Beach, and I was just like, oh my God, goals, yes. Goals. And did you move towards the beach? Did you grow up in that area? Was that intentional?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Maryland. Okay. And yeah, so we moved down when I was younger, so pretty much grew up here. So I have the best of both states in a sense. But I lived in the general what we call Hampton Roads area. And Hampton Roads is a group of several cities like Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, so forth. But everyone knows Virginia Beach because of the oceanfront. So I never really lived near the beach, but I've always lived at least maybe 20, 25 minutes away. And so where I live now is in Hampton, Virginia. And so we have, and I just said Virginia Beach, but we have 5 beaches around. So I go to a beach that's about at least 15 to 20 minutes from me. And it's so beautiful. It used to be an old fort, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, it was an old fort, and they turned it and changed it into a park area with the beach. And I just love the inlets, and it's just, yeah.
It's it talk dirty to me.
It's my happy place. I'm telling you, it's either the gym or the beach, but it's my escape.
Yeah.
My escape. So yeah, I love it.
And you speak on one of the things that you do is self-care and boundaries for entrepreneurs, which is about to tie in so well with that. So how did you get to what you're doing, and what's your favorite thing about it?
Oh my gosh. So I would say there's 2 favorite things. So how, and I'm going to get into it and explain why 2 favorite things.
This is your adventure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for taking me on this adventure too. I love it. So basically, I've been in business for over 20 years. And when the pandemic came, my whole core of my business was event production. I did business development along the way with the other businesses, but it was always event production. That was my heart and my love, no matter what else I did. And so being able to work in that space 2 years prior to the pandemic, I was managing my business full time by way of a layoff. And so when the pandemic hit, it shut down the whole event industry. And because it did, I didn't have contracts coming in. I was a government contractor, for federal and state, had corporate contracts. I have an international company I work with, and everything halted. And so, I'm just going through this my own little spaz.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, my livelihood is being affected right now.
Right.
Because mind you, I went full time with my business by way of a layoff. I was working 20 years along with the company 20 years. So I really had to deal with myself first.
Mm-hmm.
And, I felt defeated. There was a lot of things that, mentally, I'm like, okay, my back is against the wall. What am I going to do now? I got to go find me a job. I have to do this. I have to do so many things, and I've touched so many great opportunities, along the way.
Oh, I love that phrase.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just throw in the towel, I'll just, whatever. I'll just be regular, but not.
Sounds boring. No thanks.
And so it just didn't sit well with me. And I'm still managing myself, dealing with myself, much prayer and everything else that comes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to this place and I said, you know what? I can't, I'm not mediocre. You have to know within yourself your own greatness. And I always knew my greatness, even though I try to shy away from it, a lot of times, but I'm just like, I'll pop out here and there and pop back in, and it really got to me to this place where I'm just like, okay, what am I going to really do?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't like to date myself, but I always do in these interviews. But, I'm looking at it like my birthday is coming up I'm getting another year of maturity. I don't like to say the 3-letter word old. I'm going to be another year mature in life. And what do I have to show for that? Am I going to sit here in this space and go backwards or go forward?
That's those are some brave questions. Like,
no,
that's a level of self-reflection that you can't be a coward about.
No. And being in that place where I've felt like I've never been there before. Like I've had challenges, I just went through a layoff, 2 years prior. And I was like, oh, I'm good. I have my business. We're going to roll. But my business was successful. I'm hitting 6 figures and so forth. To come down to where I'm at, where am I going to go now? Yeah. And so I went back to work during that space, and because I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my own business, but I'm like, I love my logo. I love these things that I've done. I got to keep it going. And so I knew that I had to do it differently because the event industry was still shaky.
Right.
But I have all these other skill sets that I could pull from and still keep my business relevant.
Yeah.
And, all these years, people were like, Sacha, you're bigger than what you are. You're bigger than this. You're bigger than this. I've always heard that. So I knew I had to do it differently.
We're good friends.
I know. They're wonderful. I have to go back to them like, yeah, remember that time?
Damn it, you were right.
Sorry it took me a long time, but, I had to get it in myself first, But the biggest challenge my personal challenge, I had to overcome the fact that I was comfortable being behind the scenes. I didn't have to be seen to be great. I can be great behind somebody else. You see their success. I'm behind them, pushing them, doing everything. But I knew I had to do it differently, and I had to come out as the face of my brand if I was going to do it this time. And I felt that urgency, like, Sacha, get it together. There's something great for you. You got to go. Your purpose is greater than your fear. So,
you're great. Like,
thank you.
I don't say that lightly. I think a lot of entrepreneurship fails because people are cowards. And I don't mean that the way like it sounds, but I do mean it the way that it sounds. Like people are cowards and they don't realize that like courage is a choice.
That's good.
And that growth requires courage at every level. And just everything you're saying, I'm just like, courage. Like,
thank you.
So good.
But that's a great point you make. Courage is a choice, and you go through life and you think, oh, I'm courageous. Oh, I'm bold. I'm strong. But when you're faced with something where it's actually saying, either you're going to go one way or the other, which one are you going to choose? Then you're like, oh my gosh. And I felt really weak. So it was like a lot that I had to pull up for myself because, I have my household to take care of. I have my dog. I have, all these things. My daughter's grown and gone out of the house, but I still have my daughter, because it's legacy for me as well. And so, I just got to this place where it's okay, Sacha, get it together. So at the end of December 2021, I relaunched the business. I kind of did a soft relaunch in August, but I was still tiptoeing.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to figure my way out. I'm like, I don't have the same fire I had before. I need my fire. I need that zeal. But something just clicked in December. And I said, okay, you know what? I got to do it. I don't want to. It was like that thing of, if you don't move forward and you just sit there, and in years to come, you'll be like, why did I never make that move? The woulda, shoulda, coulda and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to be in that woulda, shoulda, coulda place.
Everything is brilliant.
Thank you. I have this thing like where every 10 years of your life, you have the world celebrates the decades and everything, but you have your personal decades. Your 20s, your 30s should be better than your 20s. Your 40s are better than your 30s. Every 10 years, you should be at a greater place. Yeah. And so because I had that thing for my life, and I'm going to say it, I'll be 50 next year.
Hell yeah.
I'll turn 49 in September.
Awesome.
So I'm like, you know what, Sacha, and at the time it's 2 years. I'm like, you got 2 years left in this decade of your life.
Yeah.
Make something happen.
I love that energy. And I think it's okay to grow tall, and it's okay to grow wide, or it's okay to grow deep. Growth isn't always more money or more status. It's okay if you root into yourself and that's your decade, and it's okay if you expand and that's your decade. I really like that. I've actually never thought about that, but when I work with older people, I can't it goes hand in hand, right? The longer you're alive, the more experiences you have, the more regrets you also have, because there were just opportunities that you chose not to take for whatever reason. And that's okay. But I can't tell you how many older adults I work with who so much of their grief, in the therapy realm when I work with them, so much of their grief is that they didn't have the skills and chose not to be brave enough to say, this is what I wanted. And I was too afraid. I wasn't willing to be uncomfortable. I didn't know how to be uncomfortable to go get it. And that is the most profoundly sad thing to me.
It is. Yes, it is. And when you sit in that place, and then, like you said, when they get older and they, start to look back, I don't ever want to have that regret,
Yeah.
And like you said, too many people have that. They're in that space. And I really believe that the pandemic itself, it was negative in a lot of ways, but there was a lot of positives that came out of it. But it's all about perception and your perspective with it. So for me, I say, the favorite thing that came out of it is what I'm doing now, and I'm just to answer your question about the favorite thing, so it's one of my favorite things out of that is the fact that really it just seeing me in a different space. Yeah. I see myself in a different space right now. And I'm just oh my God, Sacha, you're really doing this thing. And
I love that, it forced you to stop being so busy that you couldn't hear your actual, inner wisdom. That's a beautiful thing the pandemic did, is it forced people to sit still long enough to evaluate their life. And I love that, that got you to this. And this is so good.
Yeah. And out of that, I found the value, even in my story, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm just I just want to go out here and just share my story with everybody. It's the whole thing, but the biggest part of it is 2020, because that was a very pivotal shift within my life, not just my business. And so when I get out here and I start to speak, that's one of the biggest things I embrace, speaking in my podcast, and like I said, I'm still the owner of SWI Management Group. We still do events and everything, but I really branched out with a personal brand outside of that, and being the business strategist, because there was a lot of businesses that I did help along the way. Just if everybody's going to come to me in my personal space, hey, Sacha, I got this business I want to start. I need your idea. I might as well go ahead and just say, I'm going to consult everybody and do this thing. And to hop on, not really want to say the bandwagon with all the coaches in the world, but at the same time to still be on that path. How can I set it on ablaze? How can I stand out a little different from everyone else? So that's why I love to use the strategist piece, because, coaching to me is overused. But then also when you're a strategist, you're not just coaching people along, you're giving them a plan, you're giving them strategies, you're giving them something of a bigger insight, to help move the business forward. So because I went through what I went through with my business and so many other people during the pandemic, some people, closed their businesses. A lot of people started, a lot of people failed, so it's just like, okay, well, let me take this one area where people look at themselves as failures and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, you got burnt out. Yeah, this happened, but look, it happened to me too. Let's see how we can do this thing and grow together, because there's purpose in what we have. There's your purpose is attached to your idea. That's why I love to tell people. And I feel like, we always say this, like, I guess the saying out there is like, you have a test, that's a part of your testimony. You go through a mess, that could be a part, that's your message, and it's just like, okay, well, let me take all these things and find the beauty out of it, of everything that happened to me. And let me go ahead and help other people. So that's where, I've always been big on going to the beach, laying out, and self-care and everything. But it was during those moments, it taught me so much more about my own capacity. It showed me that value of mental health and entrepreneurship. And that's where I'm like really adding that piece into my story and really, going out and inspiring people right now, because it is, there's a very thin line. People talk about mental health all the time, but we as entrepreneurs go through a lot. And when I saw myself in that space, in that headspace, I'm just choosing to be vocal about it, But when I was there, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here, but it taught me that I can only operate with so much. And it felt good. I had people coming to me, Sacha, can you help me with this? I'm like, no. I can talk you through it, but I can't show up for you right now because I didn't have the capacity to.
Yeah.
It wasn't in me, because my whole thing is I have to keep my house, I have to keep the car, I got to keep, all these things, and I have to get money coming in for me. I can't help you with your stuff, especially if you're not paying me, but I can talk you through it. I could be there in one way, but because of those values, I call them values now, because of those values that I experienced, it's just like, and I bring them into this world that I'm in now. I'm always been big about time management. I'm even more mindful about it, because it's like, I don't want to get burnt out. I don't want to get to a place where I feel like, okay, what am I going to do now? Because I'm balancing so much.
And time management is energy management, which is the lifeblood of your business. So when you talk about mental health, if you're weighed down by being burned out, by being too busy, by not setting boundaries, by not I call it digging the rot out. Like you have to dig the rot out of your life or it will poison your whole system. And that becomes so heavy because you're like carrying, a ton of rot around. And obviously you can't work as well. So your energy systems are clogged. So time management. So when you say strategist, like there is a difference between a strategist or a consultant and a coach. And I think a lot of people don't understand the difference. Like a coach helps you work through a thing and get your own answers and, figure out the answer within you. But a strategist also says, hey, here are systems that work for this thing. Let's implement those. Let's give you a scaffolding and then we'll build the house.
Yes.
So I want people to understand the difference. And so like your system, right, is time management. But what you're also doing is saying your energy is finite.
Yeah.
You have to protect it by digging the rot out, by managing your time, by managing your boundaries. And so many, especially service-based entrepreneurs, are just like really bad at that. Like I love people who have a bleeding heart, but I'm like, bro, if you lose too much blood, you're just dead. Like we got to manage the bleeding heart. And yep. I just called it. You're just brilliant. Keep talking.
Oh, no. Thank you so much. But it's like you say, you don't want to keep on bleeding the heart like that. And I like to say, you a lot, especially as women, we do that just in general, we could be so much overcomers and, just overachievers and everything, trying to pull it all in. And, in our personal lives, when we're in business, we'll attempt to do the same thing. And it's just like being able to balance it all. You want to have, like you said, the systems to integrate even your personal life with your business. But then when you integrate your business and have systems within it, it makes it a more of a balanced, work life situation.
Yeah.
You can handle life better. And those are the things that, I like to include now and really talk to people about, when I'm speaking and I'm, with a group of women. I work with all entrepreneurs. For some reason, I'm always in front of all the women. And, when I'm talking to them, it's just like, I want to deal with mindset, but then we're going to go into the strategies. Let's go ahead and just deal with this inner person first. And then we're going to go ahead and tackle your business.
Yeah.
And because it's one and the same.
Right.
And people don't really think of it like that. It's like, okay, I start my business. That's that. But if you're starting your business is a reflection of you. So if you're not together,
right,
your business is not going to function right.
And I love that, like, that's becoming more known. I think it's very encouraging that there is a drive away from like the toxic hustle bro culture, right? For so long, like it felt like every strategy was around like, how do you work 23 hours a day and never eat and never go to the bathroom and sleep in your office? And it was so glorified. And it's like, yeah, you may run a business that way. And I put that in quotes for a reason. Like, your business is garbage if you're doing, I don't care like how much money you make. Your business is garbage if you're doing that, because if it takes that to sustain it, you have a huge problem.
Yeah.
But two, at what cost? Like, my sister sent me, I don't know if you get like the ads for the masterclass where they have like celebrities and like really. So like the one of them that they're promoting right now is Kris Jenner. And they're like, what do they call her? Like the master of like making yourself or self-making or whatever.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one.
Yeah. And my sister sent it to me and she was like, oh, this sounds really interesting. And I was like, yeah, like I saw that. And I said, and those women, that family makes stupid amounts of money. Stupid, ungodly amounts of money. Like,
right.
Do you? That's your dream. Live your dream 100%. But what I said to her, and I said, yeah, they're successful. And I put that in quotes because they make a lot of money. And that's one way to define success.
Right.
But I said, look at the cost. Like, look at the cost on that family.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you can do that. You can sacrifice your values, to use your word, your integrity, your life to make a lot of money. But like,
yeah.
At what cost? And I was like, I don't like, yeah, Kris Jenner's really, she's stupid good at what she does, like 100%, whatever. But like, it has cost her and her family their lives.
Yeah.
Their lives. Like, there's no way any of them are happy. I'm going to armchair diagnose them. Like, there's no way any of them are happy. But what's the cost? Like, yeah, you can burn yourself out. You can be everything to everyone, which you can't even do that. That's a fucking lie. Like, you can try, but like, it's not worth it. And anyway, the whole point, that's a really long story to say, like, the shift away from that has been so lovely to see. And I think that message resonates so much more with women because men are much more stubborn about like the hustle bro toxic culture. Not that you don't have to hustle, right? There are different seasons in business, but like, I think you end up in rooms full of women because women are open to that message because we inherently understand the cost of self-sacrifice. Because most women are taught to do it from the time they're freaking born.
Right.
And then you add on other dynamics, like if you're a person of color, if you're an immigrant, like it's different levels for those different identities. And it's like that message resonates so hard because women are like, oh my God, I don't have to do that. Thank God.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank God people like you exist because it doesn't have to be that way. But like, if people don't know another way, they'll default to the way that they know.
Yeah.
And I love that there's people like you teaching that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's so important, and I love being able to see their faces light up. When you just really just hit that one little area, and it's just like, and when I first spoke, my very first time coming out speaking, and I was, it was still in the, when we were able to come out for a little while, it was like it was summer of 2021, and being able to really. I was a panel speaker, and to be able to listen, a lot of times you have to really listen. When people are asking questions, they're asking questions, but the questions are very surface sometimes. And, and I was just listening to all the other panel speakers giving answers, but, you can still feel like that's not really what they were looking for.
I'm like, I want to flush the toilet. I don't want to stay at the rim. I want to flush.
Flush, because you got to flush all that stuff down.
Right. Right.
And they were still but the questions still kept coming. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? We're just going to hash this out. The reason why you're going through what you're going through is because you still have fear in you. Or your confidence level is not there and all this. And then when I said all those things, and they were just like, the light, just went up higher in the room, and their faces was like, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I really had to break it down, but also show them the things that, look, I understand where you're at, because, I haven't been like really fearful, but if you're not good about stepping outside of your comfort zone, that's still a light fear that's there.
Which is just another skill. And like the fear doesn't go away, right? Like it's not like, oh, I cured it, I'm not afraid of anything. Like,
yeah.
That would actually be bad. Like it's to our advantage that we have fears. It is not to our advantage that they paralyze us.
That's good.
And learning to move, that is good. I should pull that out when I go to edit. That was good, Amanda. Make that a reel. So learning to be afraid and to move anyway is literally the definition of courage. And that is a skill people can build. And I love that you say, like, things don't resonate unless they're deep enough to hit. And it's like, oh, well, you need to work past fear. And everyone's like, I know. But if you're like, here's why, people are like, bah, bah, and their like little brain recalculates, and it's just like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so true. And it's like, even with procrastination and, all those things. So I love to like use those things, and I'm like, okay, you have to replace that, and show them how to replace it, but then show them why something's not working in their business, because this is why we're going to pull these two together. Because like I said, your mindset, where you are and how you want to operate business is reflective. Yes. And so if you're not going to do it, then you have to look, maybe you need to step back from the business for a second, because you're going to keep yourself in the same circles. Right. Because and some of the fears could be like fear of letting something go to outsource to someone else to help you with your business. Those systems, that's part of systems. And because there's a trust issue somewhere, and for me, I'm the type of person, and I sit here and I tell these people, I'm like, look, I'm not telling you just because I'm just here and I heard people say it. No, I've lived this. I've been there, and I understand where you are. And I'm just like, I'm one of those type of people, I could do everything, pretty much everything. You learn a skill, and I'm a jill of all trades, and I'm also the type of person that's like, okay, well, if I can't find somebody that's going to do it, I could do it myself. Yeah. Or if it take too long, let me take it back and let me do it myself. But it's not really helpful for growth, because it still keeps you doing so many other things that you can't focus on the things you need to focus on. Yeah. So I was like, okay, Sacha, you have to relinquish. You have to be able to give. So
gross.
Exactly. So what I still try to do is try to find people like me that I can give it to, because it's like, if I'm going to give it to somebody, I want to be able to put it in their hands and let them run with it. I don't like to micromanage. But if I see you have, like, we're like-minded, you're business savvy, you're quick with it, everything, and then we could train the rest. Oh, by all means, come on, let's team up. And that's why I like working with interns, because they, they are those go-getters, but still got to fill them out. I have like one girl that she's like awesome. And, I'm really just like, oh, you want to take on this project? Oh, you want to take on this? You want to do this and do that? But the whole thing is to help her grow. It's not, I know she can't stay with me forever, but my goal is,
if she wants, but
if she wants,
but really the goal is for them to outgrow you, which is such a supportive culture. Like, I'm sure you've worked for people, and I'm sure a lot of our like listeners have worked for people who like, they run the business, or they run their like team from a scarcity mindset. Like, you can't leave. You're not allowed to grow out past here. Like, and they'll like, I've had clients whose managers actively sabotage their growth. And I'm just like, we need to get you a different job immediately. This is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I love that you take that approach, like just all the things that you talk about, right? Like you're such, I think, a good example of like someone who's very embodied in their values and in their health and like actually is in a good space. Cause when people like you talk, it's very, very clear that like you've done the work to be in this space.
Yeah.
And when people are not embodied and they're just talking, which side note, I think a lot of like men do,
Mm-hmm.
it's also very clear because like you can't name the disconnect, but there's a disconnect and it's like
Yeah.
something in me is reacting and I don't know what it is. I just done this long enough to know that like it's usually a disconnect, like they're not practicing what they preach. But it's so different when you have a strategist, a coach, a mentor, whatever, who like talks, what is it? Walks their talk. Like,
Right. Yeah.
so you're so right when you say like, I've been where you've been. Like, I don't have to have had every situation you've had,
Mm-hmm.
but what I have been through relates. And that is so freaking valuable to have someone who's so embodied in what they're teaching, because otherwise they're just lying.
Yeah.
Like you're just lying. Like I have, I love my clients dearly, but I have a lot of clients who will be like, I'm so good at giving other people advice and I'm bad at taking it. And I say, yeah, you're a liar. And they're just like, and I'm like,
Right.
you're lying. And it's so like, it's so nice. It's so, so, so clear that like you embody this work and you've done the work to be where you are, like truly, authentically in a grounded way. And that, I think if people, when they're looking for coaches, like one of the biggest things that I recommend people do is like look for someone who actually does what they sell.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're just lying and they can't help you.
Yeah. Yeah, because they can't help themselves. It's like really staying ahead, and that's one thing I tell people. I'm just like, look, you got to stay ahead of yourself. And
Yeah.
like one thing you said, it was so profound, that fear is always going to be there, and that's why I tell people, like, procrastination is going to be there. Fear is going to be there. Some things you can't get rid of. I mean, from surrounding you, but you can control, you're responsible for how you allow it to control you. Like you said, you just can't let it paralyze you. So don't let it get to that place. Procrastination, I'm just like, that's a beast in itself, and it keeps you bound. It keeps you back from so many things. And then when fear see you allow, entertaining procrastination, like fear is like, okay, yes, we're gonna tag team and double up, and then you'll never go anywhere. You just sit there. And I actually heard somebody, I was had a consulting somebody, and they said, you know what? Well, what if I am successful? I'm like, what are you scared of being successful? But so there's a fear there.
That's often a bigger fear than failing.
I'm like, well, so what? So what? You're going to be successful, But the thing is, what is it that's keeping you from wanting to be successful? Is it that you're still not going to are you not going to manage it well? Or is it some things that's happened in your past that makes you feel like you can't handle something great? You got to get out of that if you want to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't, and that's the bad part, because it's like, you see people, you've consulted, they're always ready to come back to you and want, more and more and more. And you're giving them good stuff and they don't apply it, or they start to, and then they fall back and just like, oh my gosh, you really got to get that mindset piece right, And I just feel like, okay, I'm always still like, yeah, they come back, but we can work some more. But it's just like when I look at myself and I think about all the things that I could have done a lot sooner, and there's some of the things I tell people. I love being transparent, and I think about where I'm at now. In a sense, I really should have been here a long time ago, but at the same time, exactly. But then it's like the extra value is added onto it, because now it's like I'm not just just coming out with a bunch of sound. There's something that's going to stick to you. There's some value that's there, and so you have to look at everything. That's why I tell people now, even though I went through what I went through with the pandemic, but it rebirthed me. It birthed something great. It's like I can't just look at the fact that, oh yeah, I did go back to work and I did do this and blah blah blah. But when I'm thinking about what I'm doing now, and it's been like fire, ever since I just said,
Mhm.
you know what, I have to jump on this wave. I don't want this wave to leave me because I don't know what's going to happen next if I just stand back and just watch
Yeah.
it go, and I don't know if I get another opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and that was the urgency when I just jumped on it and, speaking engagements and, travel. I'm about to go to Paris in October to speak this real big women's conference. And I'm going to talk about mental health and entrepreneurship. You got to
Okay,
love
maybe we need to talk about how I can get on a speaking circuit because your girl wants to sip lattes in Paris.
we're gonna have to do that, Amanda. We're gonna have to
I will hire you as a strategist consultant. Like, don't think I'm playing.
it's just really everything that I've done for other people in their businesses. So I'll rewind real quick. I've helped other people's business grow during my event production world. And I was, like I said, comfortable being behind the scenes. I've had fitness instructors, helping them like revamp their whole business, get them into a gym, managing everything, like the whole process. So that is it's a skill set, just being able to, help other businesses develop and actually manage that space for them. And so, I've worked with independent music artists, I've managed them. And, so there's so many different things I've touched on. But one thing I really believe in, with just in your personal development, if you're an employee, you have skills. You have a lot of skills, but it's not just because you're an employee. It's because you are a skillful person. It's your learning curves. It's everything else that you understand and you can do well.
Yeah.
And I feel like when people go into business, they forget about that side of their life. And then they feel like, oh, I just got to start over. I'm a business owner now. Like, no, you're a skilled business owner. You're still you.
Right.
So, and that's how I look at myself. I'm very multi-skilled. And so even with the pandemic, I was like, oh, I can't do events now, but let me go ahead and pull out my marketing skills and do little things just to be relevant, but still wasn't in that headspace, But I like to tell people to really look at what you have going on as a whole. Look at yourself, look at your skills and go forward in there. And when I started to say that, looking at my own skill sets, my own, education and all of the years of entrepreneurship experience, what I did is just pulled it all together.
Yeah.
And make it work for myself.
Which is the magic, right? Is like your business is not you, but it is, you get to decide what it gets to be and how much of you pour into it. And I have found the magic happens when people decide, like, I'm going to be so authentic that my business is also authentic.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
And that's the growth. And that's where the sustainability comes from. That's how you really can see, like you said before, success it can come in so many different ways. Money is a result of it, that is there too. But I love to tell people, like, your profitable business is not all about money.
Right.
It's how you can really, it's longevity, it's sustainability. It's like, it's all of it together. It's not just the six figures.
Right.
Your six figures today might not be six figures tomorrow.
Right.
So
it's like, what's the point of six figures if you're 23 hours a day sleeping in an office? Like, it's not worth it. But people like think that that's the holy grail. And it's like, it's incredible. It's a huge, it is a big accomplishment, but like, what's the cost? And are you actually happy?
Yeah. Yeah. Or is it actually real? Because figures could be based on
you
your
have a
growth.
6-figure business and you spend $99,000. Okay, listen, your business model.
Exactly. Yeah. So because people will, go out and spend. Oh, they want to, I can get this car now, or I could go get this and that.
Oh,
like you're dwindling down your expenses. So, I mean, your revenue, but it's just like looking at it as a whole. And that is so when I look at myself now, I'm just like, oh my God, Sacha, like,
we crushing.
You still doing this. And I have to stand back sometimes and still be like, is this real? But I know that if I get into that space too long and it'll be like, I can't believe it. Or maybe I shouldn't do this. Or maybe, it's like, I'm not going to allow those things to catch up with me because I have to run this race. And, and however many people that are connected to my life, as you walk through life, and you meet people like we met each other. So somehow we were connected. We had to meet. I do look at those things like that. It's like whoever I'm here to touch their lives in whatever capacity it is, then hey, let me go ahead and just be about this work and do it. It's not just for me, to grow, but I want to see other people grow too. And being able to flow in that heart-centered, like everybody likes heart-centered energy and everything. You're being able to flow in that and see people gravitate to it, but not just to gravitate because, I want fans, I want followers and stuff, but they gravitate in a way that's transformational.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it when you see people transform. Some of those same ladies that I spoke to in August, I've been watching them, and they are not the same women
I love
that was sitting at that panel asking those questions. It's just like something just went on and just lit them up. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, are you the same person that would say you don't like taking pictures because you don't like to be seen? And she's all over the place, and when I see it, I'm just like, just to know I had a part in that.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
It's success, right? Is like, I love everything you're saying. It's like so hard to pick out a point because it's all so freaking good. But I love what you're saying about like, essentially what you're saying is like you being brave, you being willing to step into transformation, to be honest about it, to show up as a support without judgment. It's like someone who's just unconditionally accepting is so transformational. And I really think like one of a coach, a therapist, a mentor's most important jobs is to hold the space and the belief that like people can do it, because in the beginning they don't have that belief, right? So our job is to hold it and to say, you can borrow my belief for now, but we're going to get you to the point where that feels embodied. And that takes such a high level of like clearing your own stuff out and like going into your own space. And like, if you can't hold that belief for yourself, like I can't give you a pizza if I don't have one, right? So you can't hold that for other people if you can't hold it for yourself. And it's just so transformational to have someone who like believes in you.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I even look at how many people believed in me, and it's just like, even though I had my belief, but I just wasn't really ready to step. That was my whole thing. You have some people, they just know. And just like, no, I'm just not ready to do this. That's
and your body's like,
I don't care about being popular, like, but I had so many people to be there, that voice for me. Yeah. It's like, Sacha, you too big. People are like, Sacha, you too big for Virginia. Like, you need to get out of the area. You need, and I'm just like, no, I'm good.
Okay, France.
Right, and it's just like all these things, and to be able to be that for somebody else, it's really great. Yeah, because it's like that circle goes around in the best way. I just did, like, for my podcast. So I do have a podcast, According to Sacha podcast. And last Saturday, I had the opportunity to do a live broadcast at a Kidpreneur event. Yes, I loved it. And I'm walking around. These kids were phenomenal. They had their products, their tables, everything. And they have actual, like, real businesses. Like, the lady who's doing the work with them is doing a really good job. But the one little boy that I went to, and I actually walked around interviewing the kids at their tables.
So cute.
And the mom had posted pictures for after the day, on Facebook. So I'm going through, and I saw the picture. I didn't know she took a picture of me interviewing her son. And, I did my comments and everything. And then she messaged back and she said, thank you, whatever, all that stuff. She said, but in my son's words, he said, Ma, she made me feel like I'm famous. Oh, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, and that's what it's about, Yeah. Even now, for my show, I have a show every month. It's called Young CEOs. I leave no one out. Entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. If you're creative, you're an entrepreneur. If you're a kid, these are people that a lot of people don't really like go and try to coach and strategize with and everything. But I'm just like, no, you have a place on my platform. You're an entrepreneur. And so for him to say that, and I'm just like, wow, well, you let him know he is famous. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm quite sure just watching all the faces of all the other kids,
Mhm.
I'm like, hey, I'm introducing myself and I'm letting them know, like, look, I'm national, I'm international, and I'm on YouTube. And what you about to do is going to tell the world. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, really? And I'm
Yeah.
like,
It's
yeah,
so cute.
just get ready. But, and that's how I am even with the adult entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And if you have something great, I'm going to believe in it with you. If I
Yeah.
see it, I'm going to believe in it with you. If I can help you, I can help you. But you still have to help in yourself more so
Right.
and do the work. But I mean, it's a joy. Everything is a joy because I love helping other
Mhm.
people. And this gives me the opportunity to do it in a broader perspective. And I have to keep that boundary there for myself because I'm just like, I'll give it all away and
Yeah.
never make a dime because I just love it. But I
Yeah.
had to, get to that place, even in the days where I really wasn't trying to do anything, but I was still doing it. And but I had to get to that place. So a lot of that discipline came from there, that time of my life. So now it's just like, okay, Sasha, create a platform for people, but also make sure that you have that balance and
Yeah.
you're bringing in the income, you're doing the things that you need to do and charging people and everything and
Mhm.
keeping that balance with it. Charge your worth, but I also look at some people based upon what they're doing and their drive behind it. So I'm like,
Mm.
okay, how can we make this reasonable for the both of us? I don't
Yeah.
want people to feel discouraged because they don't have the money
Mm.
to get the things that they need. And
Yeah.
they're really diligent about wanting to get it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, let's sit down, let's talk about it. I have my high ticket, I have this, I have that, but I really
Mhm.
do believe in all forms.
Yeah.
I believe in quantitative, I believe in qualitative.
Mhm.
It's all about what's going to be the right moment for each.
And it
But
matters, right? Like I was just talking to my, like a mastermind I'm in probably yesterday about this. And it's like, when you are adequately resourced,
mhm,
when you're paid adequately, when like your bills are paid and things are covered and you're pulling the profit that you want, like obviously that takes charging money, right? Like this is not a hobby, it's a business, and it's okay
yeah,
for it to be that and to charge money. Like Apple doesn't apologize for charging $2,500 for a laptop. Like
exactly.
I'm not apologizing either. Okay, I have to eat and I eat well and I don't apologize for it. So there's that.
Yeah.
But when you're adequately resourced, when you have the right systems and strategies and implementations to charge appropriately, you actually also have more room to do free things. Like you
Mhm.
could not do a podcast. I could not do this podcast if I had to work so much that I didn't have the time or the energy or the space. Like I can hire a VA to do many, many of the tasks that like, frankly, I don't want to do.
Mhm.
And it frees up hours and hours and freaking hours of my time so I
Yeah.
can interview more people, so I can put out more free resources so that
Mhm.
people who don't have money can still get a ton of value from
Yeah.
this. Like it's the
Exactly.
whole point of it. Like I don't get paid for the podcast. Yeah, it's a funnel for like, courses that I have. By the way, Becoming Light, super great. But like, yeah, it's a funnel for that, but I don't give a damn if anybody buys from the podcast. Like it's a way for me, because I'm adequately resourced, to say, okay, not everybody can afford my services, but
Mhm.
how can I serve in a way that is honest for me, that still fits in my integrity, that is frankly doable from a financial standpoint?
Mhm.
And so it matters. Like
Yeah.
that. And again, that's how we balance the bleeding heart with like, okay, but like in this reality, what do you actually need? Because you don't have a sugar daddy, or maybe you do, who's like, I'll just fund anything you want and you can give everything away for free. Like in that case, give them my number. I will take the money. Can they buy me a beach house? Like,
Right. Exactly. There you
working
go.
on it. Put
Gotta
it in
think
my
about
name, you pay the property taxes. This is what I want.
it. Right.
We're putting it out to the universe. So like when you're adequately resourced, when you have the right strategies to
Mhm.
charge appropriately and your offer suite makes sense, like you can do
Yeah.
things that are serving for free.
Mhm.
But you
Yeah.
cannot do those things if you're not making money. So we cannot have one without the other.
Exactly. Exactly. And the strategy is the biggest part in that.
100%. Right.
It is. Because one of the things that I have now, I'm a Verizon micro mentor. So I have the
That's
opportunity,
cool.
I signed up with Micro Mentor back in May. So I had the opportunity to work with businesses from all over the world. And even though it's my philanthropy, 3P. I can't even say the word right, but it's my little, that's my give back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, strategy says that I'm still in a database with all these entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving back, but yet I'm still funneling.
Yeah. And it can be multiple things. Like this podcast, one of the goals is that it's a funnel for courses. One of the goals is that it sets me up as an authority. Like it can be both. And I think a lot of women struggle with like, well, if I don't do it and there's no benefit to me, then it's not really altruistic. And it's like, but it can be both. And that's okay.
Yeah. There's a benefit in it all. You just have to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Just have to see it. And that's why I've always been really big in strategic planning and, and really bringing that insight and that foresight that's there. It may not be a benefit right now, but what about 2 months later, you can see a big benefit in it,
right.
But it's all about how you move and really being strategic about that in the process. And, that's just one of my strong suits, just being able to help people bring it all in, bring it together.
So it's like, where is this big dream? And people are like, I want to build a castle. And it's like, awesome. There are multiple steps to that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just start building.
Yes, you got to start building, but you get this, you can get that, bring this here,
right.
You pull it together. And that's what blueprints and that's what architects do, and that's how you build your business. You have to be able to pull those pieces together and make it strong so it won't fall.
Yeah.
And it's just so many things. I just love this, Amanda. I have to say this. You're so wonderful. I forget that we're just, it's feel like we're just having a conversation and,
it's almost like I talk to people for a
phone call. Yeah, it's just like we're sitting on the beach together, or we're sipping our drinks in Paris.
Girl, don't touch me. I will come to Virginia Beach. Do not tempt me.
Come, let me know. We go sit out there on the beach and
I
chill.
will also go to Paris with you. So like, I'm just inviting myself in October to Paris. Like,
hey, come on. Yeah.
I'll just be in the back, like with a cowbell, being like,
yeah, exactly. But that's like one of the biggest things, just looking at the opportunity that I'm going to be speaking in Paris and, on a bigger plane and being able to talk about my my new book that's coming out actually.
Shit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Talk to us about it. And then also, personally, like this is just a selfish thing. How do you get on a speaking circuit like that? Because it is one of my dreams and it may be the dream of someone else, but like, honestly, I don't even care. I just want to know.
But, so you have to look for those opportunities. And we could talk more about it, definitely, but definitely look at this market, those opportunities. But one of the things that I believe in is in a marketing mix. A lot of people, they just say, oh, market on social media, do your social media marketing, do your digital marketing, all these other things. But there are other ways to market yourself. And I do a lot of my own PR. And so when we go out and just looking at all of those opportunities, whether it's, through the PR way, whether it's the social media, video content, whatever it is, when you're pulling in that whole marketing mix, then you can be able to go out and look for these different things. But so I put myself in position to find these opportunities. And and that's how that came about.
Well, actually, maybe hiring you for a strategy session for that. Cause I like,
and one of the biggest things too is being able to, navigate the social media. That is the biggest space that we're on right now. And with the pandemic, it shifted everything. We were all in networking events and all these other things, but now we have groups. So you want to maximize the opportunities of still meeting people. And you have followers, being seen, showing up. One of the biggest things that in my change in my life right now is embracing how I show up. It's about showing up. And that's like the biggest thing. I tell people all the time, like when I went through this whole thing, and it's just like, I said yes to my other side. My other side was getting out of that comfort zone. My other side was just showing up.
The other side is honestly your best life. Terms, like that's where the magic is.
And it's happening, and being able to see that, and it's an art. It's an art to showing up. And that's like you said, with the courage, even embracing fear and letting that fuel you, and just, but not allowing it to capture you. And so, just looking at those faces and that's all I've been doing is just showing up in these groups, treating it like a networking event, being personable, because that energy still transfers no matter if we're just screen to screen or face to face. you know, or in somebody's DM. You know, you could tell by a tone of writing or whatever how a person can be. You know?
And it sounds like you're making that decision from a space of love and not fear. Oh, if I don't do this, it won't work. I won't get X. Instead, it's just like you show up with love and assume that what's for you is for you and it's coming. And when you were talking, it's one of the things that I say all the time. And I have a lot of people who say, like, who ask the definition of love. And I'm just like, it's literally just showing up.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's the simplest definition I can give people, is like, it's showing up and willingly taking on another person's burden. Like, that's love. And when you operate from that space, which takes digging the rod out, it takes understanding your fear and saying thanks, but you're not necessary right now. I get you're trying to help, but that's not necessary. Like, it takes learning those skill sets to even operate in that space. And like, so many people do that from a place of scarcity. And there's a reason that doesn't resonate, and there's a reason that doesn't work. And then they're like, oh, my strategy doesn't work. And it's like, well, your strategy would work if the energy behind it was appropriately aligned. God, you're good.
And half of it, even with the speaking circuit, is just asking.
Yeah.
It's just asking.
I'm about to ask everybody.
Yeah, just ask, you know, but just make sure that your presence is there to support your ask.
Yeah.
You know, I shifted everything online. Everything shifted. When I shifted, everything shifted. And people started to find me. Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah. I didn't want that on the recording.
And I realized that after, like, oh, that was quiet.
Oh, well, just bless me anyway, but it's because I sneezed, y'all.
Yes. But, you know,
I love that.
And that's all it is. And that's all I've been doing. So, yeah, that's how I got the Paris opportunity. And
incredible.
Yeah. So I get to be able to do my talk around my book. It's called The Ugly Truth about Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
The keys to managing mental wellness. Yeah. So it's full of my story. Yeah. And the values that I've gotten out of. I'm like, look, everybody, I'm not a therapist. I am not clinical. I'm nothing like that. But I'm one who has been through.
Yeah.
I'm one who pays attention, observes. And, you know, hey, it's just like that for me. But, you know, being able to make the choice to be transparent and verbal and to voice it out. And a lot of entrepreneurs they'll talk about the wins. They don't talk about the struggles as much, you know, and there's a lot of people that need to know side of it because they're not by themselves. Everybody, we're going through it.
Right.
You know, and like I said, the pandemic heightened it up in so many ways, but we're all going through it. And then, you know, we're looking at the recession, you know, all these things, all these talks out here. And so it's like, okay, you know, don't let that get you, you know, bottled down. Just tighten up and let's survive. Let's still thrive, but don't get to a place of surviving. You know, being in survival mode is not fun.
It's not fun, and it's not building, right? Like, it's catalytic. So maybe that's catabolic. Sorry, was the word I'm looking for. So like, you can't be in muscle breakdown and muscle build at the same time. Like, so if you're like, literally chronic stress is catabolic, it like eats energy and muscle and bone. That's a whole other topic. And you can't you can't run from a bear and build a business. You cannot do it. Yeah. And if you have created a business that is now a bear and you're running from it, we also have a problem, in which case, hire a strategist. Hi, Sacha. So you are brilliant. How do people find you, and how do you work with people?
Okay, so you can find me. You go to my website, which is www.swimgtgroup.com. Follow me on Facebook, Sacha Walton. That is Sacha. Everybody like to throw an S in there sometimes, but it's Sacha. And then I'm on Instagram as That Girl Sash. SACH. Don't throw the A on the N. So it's a one word or the other. But and how do I work with people? You know, just message me. We can contact me. info@swimgtgroup.com is the best way to reach out to me as well. And we can get you set up. I love to just have that initial conversation to see where you're all at. And then really, you know, see where it is that you need, and we dive in from there. But yeah, I love to work with you if you have something. I don't shy away from the type of business that you have. You know,
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at, some people might be like, well, I'm a dog walker. How can she help me? Easy. I have a dog. So we're going to figure this thing out. It's just like whatever it is. And we'll go ahead and schedule that and work it out. But yeah, definitely contact me.
And I like that because I like you for a lot of reasons. But one of the things you just said is like, well, what if I think my business is different? And it's like, every business is different, but every business has the same themes. So like you still have to have marketing and sales and operation and product and whatever the other one is, finances. Like you still got to do those things. So it's like, it's all ice cream, but you just happen to have a different flavor. But that doesn't mean that I don't understand inherently the properties of ice cream.
Yeah, because it's about building the foundation.
Right.
And a lot of people don't build the foundation. They jump into.
Right. Because they don't know how. Like, and yeah, it's definitely better to do it at the beginning. But like, if you miss doing it at the beginning, it is never too late.
Never too late. Never too late to get it done. Yeah.
You are beautiful. If people forget everything that we said, and I hope that they don't, because damn, this was good. What do you want them to remember?
I want them to remember, number one, to be the best that you are, in what you do. Don't shrink back. Show up. Show up for the business that you have. Show up for your purpose and be great in it. But also make sure that you set the foundation for what you want to do. And that way you can have that longevity out of it. And most importantly, just remember that you can reach out to me. And I'll help you to remember.
Right. And if you forget,
just go ahead and just press replay on the podcast.
Tell us your website one more time.
It's www.swimgtgroup.com.
Dude, thank you so much. This was so good.
Thank you. I loved it. This was amazing. Jamming out with you was so wonderful.
Yeah, we're besties now, basically. I'm coming to Virginia Beach.
Yes.
Me and Ben. I'm gonna make him come. He doesn't even like the beach. I'm gonna be like, I'm DGAF. We're going. Don't care.
It's all good. Come on. The invite is open.
You're gonna regret that when I show up.
You know what?
I was half kidding.
Look, I'll show you Virginia Beach. We can go to Fort Morrell. We'll go. It's all the beaches right here. We have lunch. Yes. My birthday is next month, so yeah, come up. Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. That friends. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Like this was beautiful.
You're welcome. Thank you.